to the Power of One. Today I'm going to be speaking with Jerry Mitchell from the Attorney General's office, who is no stranger to us. And he will never be a stranger to us because the information that he has is so valuable to keep us safe. Welcome to the show, Jerry.
Hey, good to be back, Melanie. How are you doing?
Good. So today I want to talk to you about a subject that I often hear about with, unfortunately, some of my co-homicide survivors. An incident could happen and it's in the news immediately. Not only is where the crime occurred in the news, their home address could be posted on social media.
Yeah.
How is that?
Nowadays, we live in a shared environment where basically almost any and everything we do, it becomes shared information. And
Mhm.
not just that, but public information. I mean, it's not hard to get anymore. Where you want to access somebody's public information, that's easy enough to just get from records, from City Hall records, or things that are online. Mortgage information, who lives there, political information, all that stuff's online to get. Having said that, we also expose ourselves at times. I like to say innocently. We expose ourselves at times to a lot of information that's out there as well, or to sites that are out there. If we're posting things online, pictures online, all that stuff has metadata to it. It's easy enough for somebody to look at this and go, okay, let me just do basically take a look at this thing a little harder, or see when they posted it, look in the background of it, and that stuff exposes us even more.
And we don't even know. I saw a
We don't.
documentary once. I love watching documentaries. And it was about like the birth of the internet and how it started. And it was these two guys, I believe, and they track people's activity. So you know how sometimes, I don't know if you've experienced this, like I could just be talking or I could look at something and then I go look at my phone another day
Yeah.
and stuff just starts to come up. So there are people who are looking at our activity and just sending us stuff on our phone.
You know, the funny thing about what you just said, you could even delete things and it can be recovered. You could delete images off of Facebook and it can be recovered. There's recoverable software that's out there. That's why, like in the capacity where I work at the Attorney General's office, we have to be very careful about what we post, because you can post something and then take it down and people are going to sit back and they can recover that stuff. Having
Mhm.
said that, with information being tracked, let's start with the physical track right here. Let's start with our phones right here. Wherever we go, if we got this thing on us, there's an IP address that hits the tower. It pinpoints us, it triangulates us. It knows where we are. I mean, when you cross, you ever like leave the area? Say you leave the Philadelphia area. Say you go to like New York. All of a sudden, you start getting like text messages or like scam or spam calls from where?
Mhm.
The tri-state area. This is the world we live in now, and all of us are exposed, but the more vulnerable ones, I like to say, to this stuff are going to be seniors. They're going to be people in
Mhm.
the retirement communities. Uh, you're talking about folks who, non-English speaking communities, and just immigrant communities. And I just met with the Sudanese the other night, and I can tell you right now, they're scared to death off of a lot of issues. But again, technology, there are a lot of people are unlettered to this stuff, and this is why we're having such a, a pretty much I like to say a wrecking ball scenario, and it's wrecking people out here now with fear.
And social media in itself is just dangerous. The TikTok, the Snapchat, Facebook, all that stuff is dangerous.
The thing about it, it's a tool. It's a communication tool. In itself, this is not dangerous. This is not dangerous. But how I use it can be dangerous.
Mhm.
The design of it, I'm going to go back to when I was in college, and we were all looking at this technology and we were all like fascinated by what we were going to be able to do. This is the mid to late 90s. Oh, wow, we're going to be able to communicate. We're going to be able to do this. So all of us young guys were all like fascinated with the capabilities of it. And then somewhere along the line, somebody said, hey, you know what? I could lie to somebody and say I'm this person when I'm not. I could tell somebody that, when it comes to money or finances or whatever, it's like a baseball bat. You put a baseball bat in the hands of Bryce Harper, you pretty much get good results. Put it in the hands of the Sopranos, kneecaps start going the other way. So technology is a tool.
And going back to those concerned mothers or
Yeah.
victims, all of this stuff is public knowledge. There is a victim, of course, I will not name any names. There's this victim who was victimized, and he is just afraid of the offender. And he was able to be relocated. And 3 years later, lo and behold, the person found him. He's
Yeah.
like, Miss Melany, how does this keep happening? How is he finding me? And is it that even if the person's not on social media, how do you find somebody? You can just Google somebody and then their information comes up? Are landlords putting the information
Yeah.
out there? How does this stuff happen?
When you start to do a filter process of looking for someone, usually it's called a try search. Now, you just said Google, okay? Most people, if you're truly dedicated to finding something, you're going to do a try search. You're going to use Google, Yahoo, and Bing. And nowadays, you're probably going to use DuckDuckGo. You're going to use multiple operating systems because each one of those operating systems filters the internet or basically has a search criteria. While there's a limited marriage, there's a strong marriage between those operating systems. They still have their own tweaked algorithms that they use to search. So if you're going to look for somebody, say I'm looking for a guy named Tony Anderson, okay? What I'm going to do is Tony Anderson, and then I'm going to put his name in parameters or quotations. So it will not take Tony and Anderson. It will take Tony Anderson all as one entity. Then outside that, and if I wanted to include, I'll be like Philadelphia or wherever he was last at. Then I'll start looking, and then I'll start doing a fish and hunt expedition throughout different states. When you start to have that kind of a dedicated person, and now with AI as an assistant, it gets even easier than that. You don't have to do all the heavy lifting anymore. You can sit back and have someone else or have AI. Most people are a chat GTP5 kind of person. Google Gemini is just as powerful, if not more, owned by Google, Gemini, which is Alphabet's company. But what you're basically doing is just using those AIs. Also, search the United States for Tony Anderson, who is from Philadelphia. You know how long that search is going to take? 3 seconds at most. 3 seconds. I mean, seriously, you couldn't get up and sit down before it'll be done. Welcome to the world we live in now.
You know what else is deep to me? I get multiple calls on my work phone and on my personal phone. Hi, is this Melany? You at such and such and such an address? I'm calling to inquire to see if you want to sell your house. Now,
I
mind
get
you,
those. Yeah, I get those too.
I thought my number was private.
No, no. Somewhere
No
along the
such thing as a
line,
private number.
the title company to your home, the mortgage company, the bank, uh, anybody in that process, somewhere along the line, that information has been made public somewhere. It's not hard to
Now,
get the access.
stop right there. So, entities that I'm dealing with can
Yeah.
actually give my information to other entities?
Sell it to other entities. Generally, that information. Then this is a quick pro quo. We're not just giving you this information. Sell that information. But more importantly, how hard is it to look at a block or a region or a zip code nowadays? Who all lives in this zip code? AI. List everyone who lives in the zip code and whatever that zip code may be, who is over the age of 30, who is a homeowner. That's what AI is designed to do. You got to understand, please, real quick. Most AIs are now nuclear powered. That's how they can move so fast.
So break this down for me. Now,
Sure.
I know Alexa and I know Google, okay? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're devices. So when I'm home and I'm chilling and I don't know what mood I'm in, whether I want to listen to some Smokey or whether I want to listen to
Yeah.
Eric B and Rakim, I can say, Alexa, play such and
Yeah.
such. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
when I go into Wakanda, which is my bathroom, I'm going to get in the tub and I got my little Google
Uh-huh.
Home. I know
Oh
to
yeah.
say, okay, Google, play some Fred Hammond. You know, I'm feeling a little Christian like right now. How
Mm-hmm.
do I access AI?
When you told Google or Alexa to play those songs, that is AI.
Okay.
That is AI. Now, AI was a rollout process. You don't just shell shock the world with just like with the premium version of it. You take baby steps into the rollout process. And the rollout process was us basically, hey Google, hey Alexa, hey Siri. That was the rollout process. Now we are into it took a massive leap forward because the elements that it needed to power it to do what they wanted it to do, they became more readily available. And the more AI needs several things to make it go. It needs power and a lot of it. To basically get that information and get it fast. Data, mountains of data. And basically, once they got that power and once they got that data and speed, the detailed data transfer rate. How fast, when you say something, how fast can it respond? Well, it takes power and it takes a tremendous amount of data and then siphoning through all that data for it to basically reciprocate and give back that information that fast. I want this, okay, well, bam, you get that. And then now that it has that data, which is the internet, which is everything, and now that it has that power, and now that it has that data transfer rate, this thing is pretty much unstoppable. So that's how it can sit back and say, hey, where does Melanie live? And basically, uh, any other information it's going to want on you, and in that region. Doesn't know, maybe it doesn't know how much how much your mortgage payoff is. But given how long you've been in your home, you know what I mean? It's basically a filter process. If you've been in your home, let's say 20 years or 25 years, chance stands the reason you got a 30-year mortgage. Chance the reason you're paying off the home. Anybody who's been in their home, hey Alexa, or I'm sorry, hey Google Gemini, list everyone in this zip code homeowner who have lived in the home for more than 20 years. Process of elimination.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That
It doesn't
is
necessarily know your exact payoff, but based on you've been here 20 years, 25 years, you're closing in on a 30-year mortgage, which is standard.
so how does one stay anonymous? Like how do I get off the radar? Tell me that.
Right about now, you can't.
Wow.
The chances are you're going to catch a bus somewhere, you're going to catch a train, you're going to fly, you're going to use an ATM, you're going to do a tap and pay or Apple Pay. Basically, you're going to do something. Now, you can less engage, but you're not going to disengage entirely. I have seniors who say, "Well, I don't have a cell phone, I don't have a computer," and they just feel like they are safe as a clam in a shell. I'm sitting there looking at them and saying, "Yes, but you're still alive. And even if you weren't alive, anybody who is no longer here on this planet, they still have some sort of an estate or have information that's been out there. Okay, here's where they work, here's where they live, and unfortunately, it can still be manipulated. You can disconnect and stop using the internet up to a point. You can. Well, I'm not going to use my phone. I'm not going to use my watch. I'm not going to use my computer, my tablet, but I am going to buy something off Amazon. I am going to
Mm,
buy something from Kohl's. I am going to buy a car. I am going to take a trip someplace. See what I mean?
mm-hmm. Now, when did all of this shift as far as like, so was everything always public knowledge? Like we go back to when we had beepers. You know what I mean? Like when
Yeah, I
we
remember.
had beepers, and if
Yeah,
a crime happened, it was like, oh, you don't. The information wasn't like it was today.
it
So
wasn't as
was everything
digitized.
always public knowledge, or is
Yes,
it just because the day has changed where the internet and everything is just out there? We're just seeing this stuff now.
it wasn't always. It was. I'm sorry. It was public knowledge, but it was manual. You had to basically go to City Hall to get records. You had to basically go to an administrative building to get the information you wanted. Now it's all online. Now you don't have to
Mhm.
leave. I mean, you're sitting on the beach. You're sitting on your deck. You're sitting in your car, and you could just sit back and just look this stuff up, or it's as simple as a Google search. You have always had public records of voters. That's always a public record. Who are you? Where do you live? What district do you live? Are you a Republican, Democrat, or independent, or a libertarian? Or what's your voting party? And basically your phone number to go along. All that stuff has always been available. Yeah, it always has been. You live in a school district. What school district do you live in? Where do you pay your school taxes to? But once they put it online, that's what gave AI the fuel to power to say, oh, now my brain is getting bigger. Basically, more data. There's no data like more data when it comes to AI.
I have a question. So I have a million questions. There is this young lady that I know
Yeah.
who was in the news, and unfortunately, horrible article written about her, multiple articles written about her.
Yeah.
She cannot get those off the internet. You type in her name, and all of these horrible articles come up. She did try to reach out to one of the newspapers
Mm-hmm.
and ask them to remove it, and they said they would not. How can something like that be removed, or could it be removed?
First, let's talk about the unfortunate nature of information once it gets out there. Once it leaves your domain, you have no control over it. What she's talking about doing is a scrub, a system scrub, scrubbing her information system, sanitizing, scrubbing. There's several terms for it, but they're basically all in the same boat. Uh, Up to a degree, she can try to get some things removed, but entirely, no. What she has to do was in a case like that, what I've seen people do is they start to, it's almost called like reimagining, and they change, like they go from, here's, if I was known from as Jerry Mitchell before, I would be known now as Jerry O. Mitchell. Everything's officially under Jerry O. Mitchell. Put that O out there, just that O. My middle initial is O anyway, for Otis. Otis is in Otis Reddy, who I was named after. So I would just start to put everything out there, and basically you can do some of it yourself, or you can pay someone to do it for you, and they're going to do, I think for the average person they probably want to pay someone, it's going to be a few $100s up to like $2,000 to
Mm.
basically start to have their name and just start having their online profile realigned. That's what they're looking for. They're trying to have their online profile so that when somebody
Mhm.
looks them up, I know a principal, and based on some ugly things that happened previously at a school, she did not want that to be what everyone saw when they first looked her up. So what did she do? She had her information, her profile realigned. And now when you look her up online, generally here's the number, the name she goes by. She gives that name out, she gives that out. And as time goes on, that profile gets bigger, bigger, and bigger.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, the name previously and the information previously is still out there about her, but it starts to more so
It's suppressive.
subside a little bit.
It's not the first thing that comes up when someone will
Right.
enter that name.
I like to say it gets discounted. It starts to go lower, lower, lower. It's starting to get discounted, where the other stuff starts to become, this becomes the content. And that kind of content alignment that you're looking, that's what she's looking to do. That's your best avenue to go. It
Mm.
really is.
Mhm.
If it's just something, let's just say somebody like, I don't know, like a crime, like a bank robbery or murder or something like that, they're not going to get past that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
not going to
Most
realign that.
definitely.
Yeah.
So now, with certain stuff being public knowledge,
Mhm.
can people take legal action if their information is out there? Can they take legal action to have it removed, or because this person said, okay, you live here, and say a crime happened, you lived here, and now the person who did the crime has not been apprehended, you just put me in harm's way. Can
Right.
that can that person seek legal action?
I'm no attorney. I'm an outreach specialist with the Attorney General's office, but based on everything that I know, and I took in the legal classes that I took in college, and as it relates to content, as it relates to information sharing, I can tell you right now, it's going to be a tough road for them to take legal action, especially if it has not caused any kind of adverse effect to their monetary life. Has it cost them any money? Has it cost them anything that would lead to loss of income? If it hasn't, chances are, they just got their feelings hurt. That's not enough. They're not going to get.
Mm.
They're not going to get any kind of real action, court action, or anything actionable based on. Well, I got my feeling. That's not going to happen. They need to see that there
Mhm.
was a monetary loss based on the information that was put out there. Somebody tantamount to like bullying. And again, there are laws against it. And again, if there's been some sort of a name calling on the person's behalf, they put out their false information. Something's been put out there again that's cost them loss of something, loss of a job, loss of revenue. There's some sort of a loss. Hey, because of this, I wasn't able to get an adoption for a child. It cost me
Mhm.
it cost me. There's more going on here than money. And if they
Mhm.
say, hey, listen, I wasn't able to get adoption for a child because of this, I wasn't able to get, somebody saw this and they backed out of a particular deal or something like that. You can try to go for something like that. It gets tougher to prosecute. I know that much gets tougher to go after cases like that. But you can see some actionable estates happening depending on those circumstances. I can tell you right now, monetary at first, was there a loss of monetary, anything monetary? Was there a loss of like an adoption or anything like that? Was there a loss of a process or some sort of a service that you were about to get or something like that? And it goes in that course, in that direction.
Okay. And Jerry, before we wrap up, how dangerous is AI, social media for young people? And I'm talking about like youth. And I will say I had this conversation. I have three amazing grandbabies. So I have an 8-year-old grandson and a 6-year-old granddaughter. And we're just talking. We talk every morning while they're getting a ride to school. And my 6-year-old says to me, "Oh yeah, Mimi." I'm a Mimi. I'm not a grandma. Too cute to be a grandma. But anyway, Mimi. So she says, "Oh yeah,
You look
Mimi."
too young to be a grandma, to be honest, that too. But all right.
She says, "Oh yeah, I'm on TikTok. I'm on TikTok every night when I'm in the bed." I said, "You're on what?" Now my daughter-in-law, that's my daughter, love her to death. I know she was in 7th grade. I said, "You're on what?" She said, "Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
on TikTok when I'm in the bed. And also Snapchat." I said, "You're on what?" And then I
Yeah.
said to my daughter, I said, block that. She should not be on TikTok and she should not be on Snapchat. She should not be on any of that stuff. Have you been on that stuff? Some of that adult content
Yeah.
is outrageous. How harmful or toxic is it for kids that age to be on social media?
Well, first of all, let's understand this is TV to kids now. You and I, TV is when we grab a remote control and we, flick the TV. That stuff is now TV to these kids, and they basically see it as all entertainment. And it has also become a pocket therapist, where kids now get on this
Mm.
stuff. If they can't talk to mom and dad, or they feel as if they're not getting enough attention, they can now go on here and they feel as if not just content uh, viewership or viewing, but also they can also go in there and talk to an AI. How dangerous is this stuff? Now more than ever, and I'm out here. They can feel like I'm preaching to them. They can feel like I'm I'm not yelling at them, but I am direct, letting parents know now it's more important now than ever to just have those micro conversations with the kids. It doesn't require like always. I want to have a full blown. Let's sit down, back, and I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. But just like while you're washing dishes, while you're eating a cookie, while you're uh, walking past them, just casually walking past them, while you're printing something off, the day to day things in life, just say something to them. Just talk chat, because if you don't, this will.
Mm,
We are now in a world where pocket therapists are standard. And I'm talking to
mhm,
parents about 4 of them: SimSimi, Bondi, Replica, Character AI. Those are the stalwarts. Oh, Chat GPT 4 or 5, which now these things, this is going to sound weird. These things sound and they come off emotional. How was school today? Hey, hi, how are you feeling today? Hey, how things going? Is that person you mentioned yesterday, are they still bothering you? Hey, do you still have that rash on your leg? What do I sound like when I say that? Concern.
mhm, mhm,
That's AI for you.
mm, mm. Well,
So
Derry, I
with
want to
your
thank you so
kids,
much for joining me today and breaking everything down for us.
sure. It was my pleasure. I always look forward to being on the show. Uh, my knowledge of this stuff, which doesn't never stop going forward, spans 30 years now, from college years to now, and in reading Kai-Fu Lee's book of AI superpowers and the global direction in which we're going. You think you're nervous and you're afraid. I'm unsure with a
Mm.
lot of things too. So we're all in this soup together.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned
Absolutely.
a lot. And please understand your actions on social media, which you have control over, but some of the actions that you do not have control over may put your personal business out there on the internet. Just be cautious, stay alert, and try to be safe. Peace and love.